Hey everybody, this is Morgan J. Ingram here with another SDR Chronicle, and I'm bringing more guests on the show, bringing more people that are bringing value for you guys for your sales development career and also to be better sales professionals. So I have David here. We've connected multiple times. He's doing awesome stuff with sales development as well. So I thought it just makes sense to bring him on the show today. So David, kind of give a background on yourself and why you're excited about being on the show today.
Yeah, man, I am super excited. I have been following your work for the last few months that you've been putting it on. I think it's awesome. I send it out to all the SDRs that I come in contact with. I'm like, hey, if you guys aren't subscribed to Morgan's show, you got to get on there immediately, because I love, the topics that you're bringing up and just the fact that you're doing the job every day. So it's not just a bunch of ivory tower, like what like consultant speak type of thing. It's more, this is what we're actually doing every day. Here's some tips. So I'm psyched, and I definitely am working with different teams of SDRs and trying to get their programs up to speed. And I've been in the tech business for about 6 years now, working with different SDR teams. Starting teams, building them up, turning them around. Right now I'm working with a cybersecurity company that started with a couple of SDRs, and we're building it up to 6 people. So just kind of watching that whole process. And yeah, man, I mean, I cannot wait to dive in on this, and just any, value that we can bring to the listeners would be awesome.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm super excited to have you here as well. And David, what I really want to touch on, we're in 2017. I'm hearing that it's the year of personalization. And, last year we're all hearing about account-based marketing, still hot, account-based sales development. So let's really talk about, like, what is account-based marketing, right? How's that affect SDRs? How's that affect sales? And then also, like, how do you actually use personalization within your account-based marketing strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole account-based phenomenon that we're going through right now is really nothing new. I mean, we've been doing it for years. I was a sales rep for about 7 years. And, in preparing for your QBR, you would sit down, look at your territory, look at the accounts that, could potentially buy your product, and look at the personas within those accounts that usually end up buying the product. And we used to do it as sales reps, to get ready for the QBR and go in and say, hey, these are the accounts that I know that I want to break into in my territory. These are the people that we usually buy from. This person signs a contract. This person usually vets us out. This person usually puts together the initial demo. And here's what I'm going to do to go after those. And now, what's happened is basically, marketing has clued in on this. I think, John Miller has led the charge, with putting together Engagio and evangelizing this. And it's basically saying, hey, instead of just having a sales rep, trying to do this themselves and trying to prioritize themselves, let's leverage the whole team behind it. Let's put some effort behind, number one, getting the account list, right? That's prioritization. Let's use either the collective mind share that we have at the company, or some of the tools that are available, like your predictive analytic tools. And let's really hone in. Where are the companies that can actually buy our product? It's so simple. What do they look like? What are the companies that are going up? What are the companies that are going down? Where should we spend our time from an account perspective, right? And instead of just the sales rep trying to do it themselves, let's bring some more minds and muscle into the selection process. And then down a level from there, it's like, okay, right now, I don't know what the stats are, but it's like 5 or 6 people are involved in every decision, right? For checking out, Terminus, for checking out any vendor. There's the person who sets up the demo. There's the person who is going to use the tool. There's the executive people. So there's like 5 or 6 people at every company. And, thing number one, how do we identify who those personas are that are involved? And those 5 or 6 people, like, what are they into? What are their pain points that we could potentially solve, and how do we go after them? So just, part of that account-based everything is like figuring out who's all involved in the sale. And then to your other question, from there, it's like, okay, from SDRs, what do we know about all these people? Like, if we bucket them into personas, like, what are their main pain points? What keeps them up at night? What is their boss like ragging them about, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if we're coming in and calling them up and saying, hey, I want to talk to you about Terminus, it's like, why should they stop and listen to you? What value, or are you just another guy, calling and pitching some product that I haven't heard about?
Right. So
that gets to the personalization, right?
Yeah, all of that. And you really kind of teed up everything that we're going into today, because it all comes down to, okay, so with everything that you said, the identification, marketing's in there, we're doing all these things, we're lining it up. What should SDRs do more research, or is it like, hey, is it just like, should marketing help with that research? Like, what specifically can an SDR start doing today to make sure that they're not, behind the curve on this?
Well, there's a lot. Okay, so I think, like, if one thing that people take away from this conversation is, if I went up to you and said, who are the 5 or 6 people that are involved in signing a contract to install your product at a company? Like, everybody on the call should be able to instantly rattle off like the big 5, the evaluator, the user, the executive sponsor, other people that are involved in the buying decision. You should be able to rattle that off. Who are those people? So that's just like getting them into, buckets. And
Right.
then thing number 2 is like, okay, so you say that, the director of sales, I'm just making up a persona, but like the director of sales is one of your main buying decision committee people. Okay, what keeps them up at night? What are 2 or 3 pain points that they're suffering from generally? Not everybody has it, but let's get at least in the neighborhood of something that's bothering them. Like, can you rattle off like 2 or 3 things? And what I'm trying to get at, Morgan, is, as SDRs or as SDR managers, like, I've never been like an IT buyer, for example. I've never been a cybersecurity specialist, right? But the company that I'm working with right now, that's one of the personas. But I don't know anything about these people. I don't know what keeps them up at night. I don't know what their job is. I don't know what like their boss is bugging them about. And so if I'm going to be calling them and trying to like put myself into their shoes and figure out how I can help them out, I got to know what is bothering them generally, like 2 or 3 pain points. And so that's like, I would say, your homework. First of all, who are the personas, and what are 2 or 3 of their pain points? Rattle those off.
That's huge. And I think that's what you said is crucial, because I think a lot of people want to say, okay, here's my accounts I'm going to go after. This is what I prospected, and I'm just going to say these things, and eventually I'm saying enough of these things to where it will resonate. However, if you do know the KPIs, if you know your industry, then you're going to sound like them, and when you sound like them, you're going to resonate with them. So that homework, how does that homework look like? I mean, is it like, hey, do I read an industry article every single night? Because I feel like if you're able to do that, yes, you're going to have your personalizations to become easier, and it's not going to look forced. So how does one start kind of understanding that homework and start implementing that every single week, every single month, every single quarter?
No, that's a great question. And, if you haven't done this, one tip that I give people is, hey, there are, your personas, there are the same people that work at your company, right? So say you're selling to a CFO. Have you gone and never like had a half an hour coffee with your CFO? Have you ever sat down with your controller? Have you sat down with the payroll specialist? Have you sat down within your own company and asked a list of, hey man, can I buy you lunch? everybody eats lunch, right?
Yeah.
Let's sit down. Like, let me buy you a cup of coffee. And I just want to sit down. Like, it's a stereotypical question, but like, hey man, what keeps you up at night? Like, what bugs you? Like, what are some of your problems that you wish that if I had a magic wand, I could solve, and build that relationship within your own company, and the personas that you're calling on. So you start there, and then you say, okay, Mr. CFO, thank you very much. This is great information. I'm going to totally think about this. If you were me and you were trying to get inside the head of CFOs, out there, what would you do? What websites would you read? I was about to say magazines, but
yeah, that might be extinct.
What I'm giving away my age, man. What websites do you read, right? What podcasts do you listen to? Like, who are your sources of information? And they might rattle off 2 or 3 things that you've never heard of, right? And you go in, and that's your weekly thing. Like, you want to get inside the head of that main persona who you're calling. Because you're going to, first of all, you're going to have way more confidence when you call, because you're like, hey, dude, I know I can help you. Like, my product is great. I know that I can help you, because whenever I talk to CFOs, they always tell me that X thing sucks, and we help with that. And, who else do you work with? Well, there you go. You got your list of customers that you can rattle off. Yeah, I work with like these other customers. Give me a shot to pitch you guys, and that type of thing. So that would be my homework. Thing number 1, start with the personas that you call on within your own company, and go buy them lunch, buy them a cup of coffee, and pick their brains. Then go out, study the things that they study, get involved with the communities that they're in. And then finally, look at the other companies that you help with that stuff, and be able to rattle that off like on every call.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic insight, because if you're able to rattle it off, you're comfortable, you're confident, your prospect's going to know that you're confident, and they're going to be like, wow, this person actually knows what they're talking about. So I think that what you said on the sales development front as an SDR manager, also to know that, and just in sales in general, that's something that you need to know. So as someone does homework, should they also be posting material towards their audience so that they can help with their better personalization? Or should they just only be focusing on, hey, look, I'm just going to get this information solely so I feel confident on the phone?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and the other thing I was going to say that goes to that is you're always preparing. Like, a lot of people become SDRs because they want to get into sales. And so if you know your target audience better, and you know your persona's pain points better than some of the salespeople on your team, think about that. Like, you're ready, man. When a spot opens up on the sales team, they're going to be like, dude, why do we even having this conversation? Like, Morgan knows our ideal customer profile. He knows the personas down pat. He's in the industry. Like, he knows what these people are dealing with, and he knows our product. Let's make him a sales rep. Why would we, waste a bunch of money and get somebody in here that doesn't know all this stuff, right? So if you know this, it positions you so well to be the first in line if something opens up on the sales team. Okay, so I'm off that. But to your question, dude, I would okay, so you're back again to the CFO thing. Like, say you're calling on CFOs, right? And you go and you take your CFO out to lunch. One of the things is, what forums and stuff do you hang out on? If you ever go on to like LinkedIn or on any websites and stuff like that, what groups do you belong to? What meetup groups do you go to? I don't know if they do that stuff, but if you find out something, hell yeah, dude, join that group, and first of all, read what kind of problems that they're dealing with, and then contribute. Like, you could write a blog post. You could interview people that are CFOs and talk about their problems. And, there's all sorts of, you're a very creative guy. There's all sorts of creative things that you could do with the platform that you've created here with the SDR Chronicles. Like, go out and make a and I don't know if I don't want to give away all your secrets, but dude, you can make a list of like all the people that you want to break into with Terminus and figure out what the main persona is, and then bring them on the show and interview them and just be like, dude, what are your main problems? What are you dealing with? Right? Stuff like that. I mean, dude, definitely get involved. Definitely. And it's not your boss might come by, hey, how come you didn't, make a bunch of phone calls today or make a bunch of emails? So you got to keep your metrics up as a sales rep, obviously. But I mean, what is it? This is when winning is done, like right now, dude. You're on the East Coast, right?
East Coast, yeah.
Right. So it's almost 6 o'clock there, right?
West Coast too. West Coast still is booming right now.
I know. I'm just saying, like right now, dude. You're in the zone of what separates right now, Morgan. You yourself, because I would bet you that 99% of the other SDRs out there that are in your shoes are like, they're heading home. They're firing up the Netflix, watching,
yeah,
like,
yeah, it's like time to chill out. Yeah.
You can still do that, of course, but when you separate yourself from the pack is from like 6 p.m. to midnight. That's when the hustling happens to be able to do these things. Because during your normal course of business, your boss is going to be all over you, like saying, "How come you didn't make 100 phone calls a day?"
Yeah. I mean, that just makes complete sense because, I think that I like to see it as like from that, that 9 to 5 or wherever you're at, like that's the broad range of like, you have to be there. You have to take action. I think it's what before that, like you have 5 to maybe 8, 5 to 9, or yes, that 6 to 2 is that range of like, where's your hustle? Like what, put the action to what your words are actually doing. Right. So with that, I kind of want to talk about personalization outside of the calls and the emails. Talk about personalization within social touches like LinkedIn and Twitter. How can you use that as part of your ABM strategy as an SDR to get in front of those prospects?
Yeah, man. I mean, again, it becomes tough because the way that like SDR programs are managed is very old school in that they're mostly looking at your activity levels and things like that. So if you're like, hey, I'm doing all these social things, but they're not showing up on the dashboard, it becomes kind of a weird conversation.
Yeah.
And so I would just say that it's a little tricky because number one, you got to be in the social realm. You have to be. You actually have to own the social realm for the personas and the pain points that you're trying to solve. You got to be in there every day. So here's an example. Say you're calling on like directors of marketing, and that there's a certain forum or a certain influencer that they all go to, or a certain event that they all go to. You got to be in there, involved, and adding value to that community on a regular daily drip. So they keep seeing your face, right? That you're writing blogs about their problems and how to solve their problems. You're doing videos that you post about how to solve their problems. You're doing little whiteboard things. Here's a problem. Here's how you could solve it. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with Morgan or Terminus or whatever you're actually selling. It's just, I'm in front of you, I'm a presence, and I'm solving your problem for you. That's it. And then after a while, like they keep seeing this and they're like, dude, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, and then how can marketing help you out? You go to them and you say, okay, here's like the top 100 companies that I definitely want to break into. Here's the top 10 that I've got to get in front of. No joke. Like we got to surround these guys. And then you plug in a product like Terminus, right? Show them the banner ads.
Yeah.
You send them a mug. You send them a mouse pad, whatever it is.
Whatever it takes.
all around. And then next thing you know, they're on like, they're on one of those forums or something. They're like, who is this Morgan guy? Like this Morgan guy keeps popping up everywhere. This guy's everywhere, man. Who is this guy? Click, they see it. Terminus, dude, boom. You have legitimacy, right? You're in front of them. Now you can have a conversation. So.
Definitely. And I like what you said. And I kind of want to talk about the things not to do, because I feel like there are a lot of people who will say, oh, well, social selling and personalization, all I have to do is, send out these 1,000 things and I'll get something back. So kind of talk about how maybe that isn't like maybe the best way to build the brand, and like ways to like kind of avoid to not be spammy in these type of things when you're trying to provide information or just trying to get in front of somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we've been programmed over the last like 10 years, to look at the funnel as far as like I send out 10,000 emails, that gets me X number of responses, which gets me blah, blah, blah. And finally sales come out the bottom magically, And I think we were talking about this a little bit before, like getting people off of that demand generation model it's not an overnight process. It's literally like, people like we're always talking about being more careful and being account-based and being more personalized. But there's a lot of people out there that don't listen to this, your show, and they don't read the same stuff, and they're still operating in the mentality of, send out 1 million emails and hope that we get something back. So I think we have to like kind of beat the drum on this within our organization. I mean, probably not at a place like Terminus, hopefully, but at your usual, even your usual technology place, people are still doing it that way. And it's like, all right, so that's happening. So it's going to take a while before that completely goes away. But what we do have the ability to control, our own little account-based approach, which could be just like I was talking about, like you go on and pick out the top 100 companies and you think about what the personas are going to be, and you run your own account-based sales development plays, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, boss, like, I called all these things, I did all this demand gen stuff. Yeah, that's totally good. But then, over on the side, you got your own little like smarter campaign happening.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So what would you tell SDRs who those are awesome plans and they're like, but like, they're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what do you tell SDRs that you like, I feel like in this year, as personalization becomes more prevalent, ABM, account-based sales development, is it time for SDRs as a whole to step up to these standards, to actually seek out information, doing their research? Or do you feel like if they don't, then we'll start seeing people like not be able to perform in the role as they would like to?
Yeah, I think that's with anything. I mean, you could look at it a few different ways. People, they might get into the SDR role and they're like, I just want to do this for a while and then become a sales rep. And, within a few months, like, I just want to be a sales rep. Like I've done the SDR thing. I'm done, but the thing is, what's tricky about that is it's like you're too focused on the end goal and the end result, and not the abilities that you have right now to be great as an SDR. And just owning the current position that you're in and becoming really, really good at what you're actually doing right now today, right? I think people get stuck in the trap, like, I'm just doing this for a while and then I want to get the hell out. And it's like, that actually stops you, because instead of thinking about like how I can be a better SDR right now, it's like you're too focused on the goal ahead of you. So that's a trap. I mean, everybody falls into it. It's a really tough job as an SDR, and I get it that you want to get promoted like as quickly as possible. But I would just say, in the meantime, like, subscribe to the SDR Chronicles, for example. Listen to the podcast, read all the books, become an expert on the ideal customer profile and the personas and those pain points, to the point where you're so good at being an SDR that people are just like, dude, why are you an SDR?
Yeah, exactly.
We need you to be something else within the company. So I guess to answer your question, like, no, it's on the SDR to become better every day, and it'll help not only in the current job, but to get you that promotion. That's what I would say.
So, and I agree with you. I mean, there's definitely a lot of people that will reach out to me and be like, I'm thankful for the information. And of course, there's a lot of people who will continuously complain and be like, oh, this is awful. Like, how'd I get here? This experience, this is the hard job. And it's like, you know, I say this all the time, like, this job is simple, right? Calls, emails, reaching out, like, that's a simple task if you think about it, but it's not easy. It's not easy to continuously do that knowing that you're going to face rejection. So why do you think that people do fall into the trap? Why aren't they actually immersed, knowing that the skills you learn in this role can help you out to be, you know, an executive? I would say a CEO. I would say to be a good account executive. I would say to be a good leader, because you just learn so much in this role. Why do you think people are neglecting the fact to immerse in the role so they can become better in the long run?
No, dude, that's an awesome question. I think that you see a pattern kind of in the SDR land where someone comes in, they're super excited, they have a job, they have a desk, they have a phone, they have a computer, like, they're super excited.
Everything. You slide it out.
They get the black t-shirt, you know, they get like all the stuff. And for the first couple months, they're like right in the front row of training, you know, they're like reading all this stuff. They're taking the CFO out to lunch, like, they're totally doing it. And then it's like, okay, well, it's time to start the actual job. Okay. So then a couple of months go by and they figure out that it's really hard. Like, you're trying to have, you know, build a conversation with somebody in like 5 seconds. And a lot of people, you know, are not open to having that conversation at the moment. Like, say, if you call, they might hang up on you, and all the stuff that we deal with every day. So I think that after about month 3 or 4, like, people hit a wall, you know, and they get into like a downward spiral of negativity. And they're just like, this job sucks. This company sucks. Like, I'm not getting paid enough. And I'm like kind of looking for something else, but not really. And I don't want to like put any extra effort in this because I'm not going to be doing it for very long. And it just kind of goes downhill, you know? And to somebody that's in that position or further along, I would just say, hey, look, I mean, your career is long. I mean, you're going to be working for decades. And this is just a time to learn and grow and develop, because like you said, the skills that you learn to quickly communicate, to understand buyer pain points and personas, to organize your day around your energy, like, this is great material to learn right now in your career that you can use for the rest of your life. So embrace it. Be an awesome SDR. Be the best SDR in the world, right?
Yeah.
And then the sky's the limit for you.
I love it. I mean, I don't think you could have, I don't think anyone can say that any better than how you just said it right there. You gotta strive. I think the biggest thing to learn is that you have to strive to be the best at what you're currently doing, not strive to be the best at something that you're not doing. Right. So like, you can't strive to be good at something that you haven't even stepped into. You got to understand what am I doing here so that, you know, here I can be really good at this. Right. So, you know, when I first started the role, I was like, all right, like, I'm here, like, I want to learn. I've never been in the tech industry. I didn't even know what a CRM was before I started at Terminus. So I was like, what am I doing? I got to learn so that I can understand the industry so that I can start providing insights. So I think people miss that step. And I think that's super crucial. And David, I've really enjoyed this interview thus far. I think we've gone and brought a lot of value, a lot of context, a lot of people. I think people are going to be fired up when they listen to this. So one last question for you, and you've touched on this, but this is the core of it. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a new SDR?
The one piece of advice that I would give to a new SDR would be, you know, oh man, that is a really tough question. There's so many different.
There is.
You know, it's interesting. This is a little bit just the first thing that pops into my head. You know, you live in your body, right? So your body is your home, 100%. And you have to stay healthy. And you know, I think that we get into like 50, 60-hour weeks and pounding Red Bulls, and then you like, if you're a young guy like you're going out and like staying up all night and having a great time and all this stuff. And it takes its toll, man. I mean, the job is stressful, and then you're stressing your body by not, you know, feeding it the right food, not getting enough sleep, going out all the time. I mean, it is easy to get broken down and burned out. And I've seen it over and over again. So the only, you know, it really has nothing to do with the skills and everything of an SDR, but don't forget you got to take care of yourself. Like, get enough sleep, eat right, hit the gym every day as hard as you can, work off the stress. Maybe don't go out every night on the weekend. Like, take care of yourself. And, you know, then you have the platform to actually perform. And you will blow doors on your competitors by just being more focused and more there because you took care of yourself. So that's I'm a dad, so, you know.
Take care of yourself, everybody. No, I actually agree with you, because I actually was the person after I graduated, like, I always stayed up late, like 2, and I wake up at like 7 or 8. And I was like, yo, it's whatever. I'm young. But then I realized that, like, there has to be procedures. So, you know, now I go to bed at like 10:30 and I wake up at like 5, 6, because I realized that, like, when I actually get the right amount of sleep, like, I can actually put the work in instead of being like, oh, I need to work all the time. It's like, I actually need to sleep so that I can actually do the right stuff when I'm actually awake, like being productive. So I actually do agree with you that on David. So again, David, thank you so much for coming on the SDR Chronicles today. I learned a lot. I know my viewers will learn a lot. And where can they find you, David?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can hit me up on LinkedIn. It's Dulany, David Dulany. And I'm also on Twitter, DKDNSF. So
awesome. Well, guys, as I always say, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right, bud.